Welcome to the Slow Living Collective podcast. I'm Amy, wife, mother of two, and homemaker. Come along with me as I share my love for simple living, growing in my allotment garden, diving into what it means to be an urban homesteader, and embracing life as a mother and homemaker. Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Slow Living Collective podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. Before we get into today's episode, I'm going to ask you guys a little favour, which I don't think I've put on a podcast for a while, but listen. Podcasts live and die by their reviews, and I would be so appreciative if you were able to give this podcast a rating and a review. It just helps me get found more and brings more people who need to hear these words to this podcast. So I would be so grateful. So all you need to do is just head to wherever you listen to your podcast, make sure you're subscribed, and then leave me a rating or a review. I would just be beyond grateful. So thank you so much. So let's get on with today's episode. Today I have the wonderful Kay from A Little Less Toxic on Instagram. She is joining me to talk about all things low toxic living. Now Kay and I refer to so many times in this episode how we don't actually live a life that is very similar, and we have a lot of different ways we live, different opinions on things, and I think it is a beautiful way to really understand that you don't have to be a certain type of person or live in a certain type of way to embrace a more low toxic lifestyle. So with that being said, let's get on with the rest of the episode and listen to mine and Kate's conversation. Hi, Kay. Welcome to the Slow Living Collective podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. So before we get into today's episode, do you want to introduce yourself to everyone and tell us just a little bit about who you are?
Yeah, so my name is Kay. I am a mum to two girls. They're 4 and 2. I own a local honey business now. I also work part-time. I home educate my children, just like you. They're both young, so yeah, not formally of school age yet, but I do home educate them. And I like to think that I live low tox, and I'm really excited to get into this today.
Excellent. So, like you said, we're going to delve into like low toxic living, and I'm really excited about this episode as well, as it's something I'm like a huge advocate of. So, can you tell us how you came to sort of discover low toxic living in the first place?
Yeah, so the first thing that I started with was my daughter's health. And it all started with a smoothie called a heavy metal detox smoothie by the medical medium. And the reason that I started giving that to her was because she was vaccine injured when she was a baby. And just to put that into context, she was rapidly declining on the leading up to her second birthday. She was like straining, and when I say straining, I mean she would lie on the floor on her stomach with her legs up in the air behind her back, crossed, tensing up the rest of the muscles in her body. She was flapping, she was biting herself, she was hitting herself, and just like having a hard time, really. And it was hard to watch because she was spending a lot of her time doing that. She wasn't playing, she wasn't interacting as much, and yeah, that's where it started. And within 2 to 4 weeks, I started seeing improvements. So I implemented more and more of the protocols, and thankfully, they've worked really, really well. And she is in such a better place than she was. And now we all implement this lifestyle at home. Even after she started making improvements, though, the one thing that was just highly inflammatory for her, and you could tell pretty much immediately, was rapeseed oil. That was just really, really inflammatory for her. And then we realised after that as well that sunflower oil was also really inflammatory. So cutting out rapeseed oil was like the most important thing that we could have done, and to this day we stick by that and will not go near it. It's just absolutely awful. So it was like diet related, but that was like what started everything for me. And then from there, I kind of started just changing everything. Like, and I assume it's the same for you. It's like it starts off as one thing, and now I look back at it a couple of years ago, I'm like, it's crazy the amount of changes that we've made since then, just from that one thing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I know, like, looking into, like, the ingredients of things, I would, like, look into, first of all, it was like, "Oh, well, sort of our health and our food and stuff," and then before you know it, like, I'm in the bathroom, like, with the shower gel, and I'm like, "Well, that doesn't sound that great,"
Oh
and
my gosh.
it just spirals. It's like the other day I was getting ready to go out, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna put a little bit of makeup on because I never get to put makeup on." And I never
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know
and there's
exactly what you mean.
and there's just, like, there's very few sort of makeup brands as well that aren't just, like, full of rubbish, and so I had, like, a really like, a mineral makeup, let's be honest, it was very old, and it probably should have been in the bin many years ago. But I ran out of it, like, me and my husband were going out for dinner, and I ran out of it, and I was like, "But I don't have anything else." Like, it's not like I've got, like, 12 foundations lined up, like, I have nothing else, so I guess that's
That
that.
That's just what happens when you have children. You just have to kind of dig out the makeup box that's like 10 years old and just hope for the best, that the mascara's not dried up. And
Yeah,
yeah, but that's how it started. And it's just like a cascade from there. And so it started with that. And then it was like more about food related things and all the ingredients, like you were saying, that are in food. How much hidden ingredients are in there, and how many things that we don't even know what's in there. Food is just like one aspect of all of this sort of stuff. Um, and like from there, it went from like food, and then I changed to reusable nappies, reusable wipes, and that was the best change I ever made. Out of all the changes I've made, I would never go back. Like within using them of a few weeks, like it was so much better. I found that there was like less rashes, less irritation, less chemicals, and I thought it was going to be really hard work first. So I just started with like 2 a week, then it was like more, but literally within 4 weeks, I'd gone from having like 2 nappies that I picked up in Aldi Special Buys to like literally about 20 nappies, all the night nappies. I just literally changed overnight because I fell in love with them.
yeah.
And I know you did too.
Yeah, and it's funny, I did cloth nappies for ages before I switched to cloth wipes as well, and I was always like, "Oh, like, I'll do cloth nappies, but, I don't know if I'm ready to do, like, cloth wipes," and then one day I was like, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it," and then I was like, "Oh, this is actually so easy," because not only is it, the same as just anything being able to be washed, like, when you use a cloth wipe, like, you can wash it and you don't even have to let it dry because you've
Exactly,
been wetting
exactly.
it.
You literally just throw it back into the box. And I don't know about you, but the cloth wipes, I was like that as well. I did the nappies first and the wipes after. And I think I actually spoke to you on your old account a couple of years ago about it. And I was just like, I'm just going to do it. I remember you telling me, and I was like, yeah, I'm just going to do it. Oh my gosh, the wipes was the best change I made. The nappies were one thing, but the wipes were a game changer. I would never
Yeah,
go back now. They're
and it's
so much better.
yeah,
So much better.
amazing actually how much so, like, when I use, reusable, like, wipes versus, using, like, throwaway ones, it's like trying to get, them out the packet, they're all, like, bundled
Oh, it's
together. You have to use, like, 100 just to just to clean
yeah,
up.
compared to one, like,
It's
wipe.
one big wipe, and sometimes you might have to fold it over and do a second swipe, but other than that,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
literally
it's
one wipe compared to about 6 with the disposal ones,
yeah,
and, like, that's another thing, so, like, that's where it started as well, so I changed the reusable, nappies and reusable wipes, and then it was like, I was looking at everything then. I don't know about you, I'm, like, turning over every single packet, looking at every single label of everything, food, cleaning products, things that we use in the home. Like it just was crazy, and it was like a real big eye opener. And it's easy to get overwhelmed with low toxic living. And for anyone listening that wants to embrace a more low tox life, like these changes do not happen overnight, and I did not change everything in my home overnight. It was a gradual process, and I feel that once you make one change and you see the difference, or you reap the benefits from that and you feel good about it, you kind of like, oh, what can I do next? And you just want to kind of do the next thing and the next thing, and you don't really have to think about it. It just happens. Like, you'll be in the shops and you'll like see a better option, or you'll just realize that there's better choices out there. And it's a shame because they're not as marketed as well. And when you go into the supermarkets, the better choices aren't always there, let's be honest. You know, you go into Sainsbury's and, you know, all the laundry detergents, there's like what, 30 different ones on the shelf. You might get like one Eco for Zero and maybe another one. But it's really frustrating as well because they do a lot of greenwashing. So the words that they're using, natural, free from, all these sort of things, they put on these labels to make you think that you're making a better choice. But
Yeah.
when you turn that packet over, it's just still full of crap. Like,
Yeah.
sorry, but it's like still loaded with crap. And you know what is a real, like, eye opener? When you see the amount of ingredients on something,
Yeah.
like when there's such a high number of ingredients, and when you're looking at that packet, and I still do it now, I turn it over and I'm like, I don't even know what any of these words mean, but surely to God, if I don't know what they mean, then they can't be that good for me.
Yeah. And it's in, it's like cleaning products, makeup, skincare products, food. Like sometimes I'll turn over a food packet and I'll like read an ingredient and I'm like, but why is it even in there? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
why does that have to be in something that actually could be like a natural product?
Yeah,
It's
and
like,
it's so
why?
frustrating that they just change these things for no reason. Like, I'll give you an example. Aldi used to sell tomato puree with no citric acid in, and I
Mm.
used to get it all the time because I was like, yeah, it was like 30 something pence compared to like the organic ones are really expensive. Not that there's anything wrong with organic, and I think that like we do try to source organic and local here where possible. But yeah, they did a good one, and then all of a sudden they just started adding it. Like, you've been selling it for years, just tomato puree on its own, nothing else in it. Why do we need to just change it now? Like, what's the need for it?
Yeah,
Like, surely to God, having less ingredients is like less of a cost to the company, but it just doesn't make sense. Like, I just feel like they're just trying to poison us from all angles sometimes.
I
Like,
know.
I literally
Yeah,
just feel like everywhere I turn, I'm like, what is going on? Like, they just, one minute something's fine, and the next minute there's like another ingredient in there. So, like, you think that you can trust a product, but you have to check the label like every single time
I know.
because
We
they
had the
just change it.
same. Yeah, we had the same. We used to buy these noodles that we always used to do like a stir fry with, and we particularly picked this brand over. I can't remember what the brand name was, but it was over like Morrison's own brand, because
Mm.
Morrison's own brand had like rapeseed oil in it, like it
Oh,
within the
yeah.
noodles. So I was like, oh well, there's this other brand. I think it might have been Blue Moon. It probably doesn't matter. Anyway, they had exactly the same sort of pack of noodles, and it was just like a udon noodles, I think. And so they had that sort of slimier texture, let's say.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so I was like, "There's nothing in here, it's just noodles." So we had that repeatedly. Anyway, one day I was doing the shopping, I looked on the online shopping and I was like, "There's rapeseed oil in these now."
Oh
And
my God.
it's just like then you're like, "Well, I actually haven't checked for like 3 months, so have I been eating it?" Like, and
Yeah.
that's really annoying. I hate it when something changes.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you on the rapeseed oil, and that is one thing that comes back to my daughter's health. So the rapeseed oil and seed oils in general, like sunflower and everything as well, they're just so inflammatory on her
Yeah,
body. And if she has that, it like literally puts her health back for like 3 months. Like, don't get me wrong, she's not like poorly in bed, but it has a profound effect on her day-to-day life, and I can see that it impacts her. She's not in pain or anything, but it literally takes 3 months for me to get her back to normal, and seeing that in her makes me think, gosh, like, what is that doing to everybody else that we don't even know about? Like,
yeah,
luckily for me, I'm like, I can see that that's inflammatory on her, so I know that that's the problem. But they're just putting rapeseed oil in everything now as well, like
Mm.
rapeseed oil, sunflower oil. And I know that you're the same on this because you don't have seed oils at home either. And just trying to find products now that don't have these oils in and that use better oils is just like few and far between unless you go
Yeah.
for like the more organic ones. But even still, they don't always have like the better oil in. And it's really, really frustrating because you just feel like you make everything yourself at home from scratch. And I take pride in that, as do you probably, Amy. But sometimes you just want to feel like you can just grab something
Yeah.
and just have that, without having to worry about it, just so you can keep it in the cupboard for those times where
Yeah.
you literally just come in the door and you just want to get something. And it's just not the case. And it's a shame. It's a real, real shame.
Yeah, it's really difficult. I know, like, do you know, sometimes you're like, I just quite fancy a bag of crisps, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, we found, I can't remember what the brand was called, but there was a brand of crisps we had once. But the bag was like one of the sharing size bags, but it was about
Mm.
£4. And it's like,
Yeah.
it was made with I think it was olive oil rather than sort of
Is it from
like
Waitrose in a pink packet? Is it a pink packet?
yeah, it might have been, yeah.
Yeah, so if you can go to Waitrose and you get these, they're called San Nicasio. I don't even know if that's said right. Sorry, guys, if it's wrong. But yeah, they're made with olive oil and they sell them in Waitrose. But if you go online and you type them in, there is a couple of websites that you can buy them from, and they've got loads of different flavors. The ones in Waitrose normally just have the salted ones, but they
Mm,
do have a lot of flavors. And that's another thing again, like with food, the flavors, like there's always these natural flavors and all these extra ingredients in food that just really just don't need to be in there. So like when it comes to natural flavors, I don't know if you know this, but they're actually made up of like between I think 50 and 100 different chemicals. And the word natural, they can say natural flavors. That just means that the product has natural just means the original source that it's come from, but that does not mean that that's the only thing in there. That just means that that's how they started out, basically. And then after that process, they can add like synthetic preservatives or all these sorts of horrible things into the food. And you would never know. You would never know when you look at natural flavoring. You just think, oh, natural flavoring is something that's strawberry flavored. It's come from strawberries,
yeah.
and it doesn't, like, maybe like the tiniest little bit might, but yeah, it's like it's so awful, and we just don't know these things. And it's just come to light, like the more I've lived my life this way, and the more that I've continued on this journey, the more that I've just found out, and it's really, really shocking.
Yeah, I like it's one of those things, isn't it? And you kind of touched on it. Like you can, when you were saying about people, you don't have to do everything all at once because like once you sort of start, you can end up getting quite like like, and
Yeah, it is
everything
really
everything is
overwhelming.
terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, you literally you can feel like that. And even now, like I've been doing this now for like a couple of years, and even now I still feel like, oh my gosh, this is so awful, or I haven't changed this yet. And we just have to kind of remind ourselves of all the good things that we have changed and all the changes that we have made, because we've come a very, very long way. And the way I see it, as long as we're making an effort, that's all that matters. Like we're striving to be better, and to try and make these changes and to try and help our children and live in more of a low tox way. And like there's always going to be like the odd mistake or the odd error, and there's not a lot that we can do about it. But yeah, just making one change at a time is like the best way to go. And just don't overwhelm yourself. All my clothes are not like organic cotton. There's probably like clothes that we've got with synthetic materials in, and like we just do our best, like, and that's all that we can do. So yeah.
Yeah, my clothes same. It's just
Yeah.
yeah, it's really difficult as well because a lot of like eating well or, stuff for our skin, our home, if you want to have the better options, as in, the things that are sort of more healthier or more, low in toxins, you have to pay a premium for it. Same with if you wanted to have,
Yeah.
clothes that are made of natural materials, it comes at a cost, and it's not always possible, is it, to just be like, right, I'm just gonna
No.
chuck out this
Yeah.
this messy wardrobe and stuff and just start again. It's just, it's not possible. And
Yeah.
I suppose,
It's a gradual process.
yeah, and one thing I think I do quite a bit as well is that, if I've when I run out of something, like if something was really horrendous for me. So I have this app on my phone, it's called Yuka, I'm not sure, but you can
Yeah.
basically scan like a code of whatever, it's the barcode, and it will tell you like what ingredients are in it and what they are. If anything comes up and it's carcinogenic, I'm like, you are out of here.
Yeah,
Um,
mate, straight in the bin. It does come at a cost. I think just food and, trying to buy organic, all these different products, trying to buy like the better options are always seem to be more expensive. And that's why I just do my best, that's all that we can do. Like I make my own cleaning products. So that's like a bit better because I'm not having to go and buy them from the supermarket, and they work out quite cheap actually because
yeah,
I use like a lot of bicarb, essential oils, vinegar,
yeah,
citric acid, things like that, and they actually work
yeah,
really, really well. Like it really shocked me when I changed cleaning products actually, because I didn't I don't think I was prepared for how good they was going to work.
mm,
And I was like pleasantly surprised, like that they matched the conventional cleaning products.
yeah,
And I don't know about you, but like I know that you use your own cleaning products. Do you find that when you're out and about, or if you go to if you go to the toilet somewhere and they've just freshly cleaned them, like the smells
yeah,
are so overpowering. Like
yeah,
when you kind of start going low tox and reducing the chemicals that you use in your home, and oh my gosh, honestly, it's just the fragrances and the chemicals are so overpowering. You're just not
yeah.
used to it anymore.
Yeah, I find that, like so many people have like those reed diffusers or like plugins, and I'm like, they stink. I mean, luckily for me, well, luckily, not luckily, I have had ear problems since I was small, and a fragrance really irritates it, and I've never been able to figure out why. Modern medicine has never been able to figure out why. But same with my migraines, I have, really like a problem with scent and stuff. So I've never
Mm,
been able to have like, when everybody buys reed diffusers, I'm like, oh no, I could never have that in my house because
yeah.
I'd permanently be sick. And so I presume because, this has been going on for like 20 years, that,
Wow.
this it's actually probably more related to maybe the toxins and chemicals that are in these things and less about
Mm.
anything that I've got potentially going.
Anything going on with you, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna tell you something now actually about fragrances, seeing as if we've mentioned it. So fragrance can actually contain more than 3,000 ingredients in one fragrance. It's such a mixture of chemicals. So when a fragrance goes into the air and reacts like with the ozone, it forms what's it called? Sorry, a secondary pollutant, and it can that can be anything like formaldehyde.
Oh,
So things like that are carcinogenic, they're cancerous, they're irritants to the eyes, nose, mouth. So you saying that, that happens to you with fragrances, like, is completely correct. And that's not an issue with you. That's just how toxic and how bad fragrances actually are.
yeah, and so like people's perfumes as well. The worst thing I remember when I was pregnant with my son and I went to hospital for like one of his scans, and I was behind a lady with so much perfume on, and it was back during like COVID. So I had to
Oh
have a mask
gosh.
on in the hospital, and it was all getting like trapped behind my
Oh
mouth. And
no.
I was like, like, ugh, like it's just it. scent has,
It's suffocating.
yeah,
It's suffocating. It literally is like suffocating. I like that is one thing now. If we go to the supermarket, and we're walking past the aisles, with all the laundry detergent and everything, or all the air fresheners, my daughter's like, "Gosh, mom, that really stinks." Like,
yeah,
and she's like, "Let's not go down that one. Let's go down the next one." And even she says that now. And that's not from how we talk about these things at home. That's just what she's recognizing, that she's like, wow, that is really overpowering. And before you go on this journey, like, it's crazy to think like that we're so like kind of immune to these things. Like, it's just the norm, isn't it? We don't really notice how strong and overpowering these things are. And yeah, that for one shocked me, just to find out like the amount of ingredients in one fragrance. And I know that people listening to this are going to be shocked to hear about that,
yeah.
because
I mean,
that
I
really,
know
really shocked
I
me.
had heard that, like plugins and the reed diffusers and air fresheners and stuff, are just so bad for us, especially because we use them in enclosed spaces as well.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
not even like, most of the time we've not all got our windows open all the way through the winter, say.
Oh,
So,
definitely not.
we
10 minutes in the morning to get the
yeah.
condensation gone and whatever. But yeah,
So, when we're breathing it in a lot because it's, in our environments everywhere. So, I mean, yeah,
I know that I just want to ask actually, because I know that you changed your kitchen roll to reusable ones. How are you getting on with that? Does it feel like you're doing reusable nappies again, like having to wash
yeah,
them, or
it's fine. The hardest part of that was actually using them and knowing you're gonna get them dirty because 'cause they're so pristine when they come off the roll, and
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
trying to get over that sort of barrier, like, I'm gonna wipe up this big coffee stain, but it's gonna
yeah,
stain my beautiful towel. Yeah, so the kitchen roll, it is really good, and actually, once you sort of get over that hurdle of, like, "I'm gonna make this dirty and messy,"
yeah,
um, it's fine, and the good thing as well is, like, I just chuck them in with, like, any wash, because
yeah,
I know that firstly, I'm not using them to, like, wipe up bleach or something.
yeah,
I'm not cleaning with anything that's, got bleach in it or anything that's, toxic. So therefore, I'm quite happy to just chuck it in with sort of any wash. Um,
yeah, yeah.
don't feel the need to sort of separate it, and they last a really, really long time. I bought 2 rolls, and I think they were about £6 for each roll, and I think there's maybe 20 sheets on. But yeah,
Oh, okay. Wow.
they last a really long time. Like, I haven't thrown any away yet. Some of them are getting, they just get like because they're made of bamboo, they get a
Mm.
little bit thinner and a little bit holy, but they still do the job
They still
perfectly.
work. And
Yeah.
when did you? How long ago did you buy them? It was a while ago now.
Was, yeah. So we bought 1 pack, I think it was probably over a year ago,
Oh,
because
wow. So that's really good then.
yeah, because I remember hanging them up to dry, like, outside last spring, and we're only halfway through the second roll, so we only bought the second roll because I was a bit rubbish at doing the washing. We were like, "We've got no kitchen roll," but have still on occasion, sometimes I keep just, like, a couple of rolls of kitchen roll in
Yeah.
case I need it, but, like, honestly, the cost of kitchen roll, I don't know what is going on.
I know it's so expensive
I'm
now. It
like,
is so expensive.
like I said, we sometimes buy and just keep a little bit in stock, and sometimes we'll sort of use them sort of in conjunction with each other sometimes.
I have to admit, I don't have like reusable kitchen roll, but I do find myself just using like just more microfiber cloths and stuff like in
Yeah,
the kitchen now, and just chucking them in the wash, rather than using up a lot of kitchen roll all the time. And I think, like, I'm just becoming more mindful of the things that I
yeah,
do now. So I feel like, oh well, I'm already putting a wash on anyway with cloths or tea towels anyway, so it doesn't matter if there's an extra fee because the wash is going on anyway. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? So, and yeah, it's less stuff going in the bin, or I know that you can compost them and stuff. Not compost. put them in the compost bin now. But yeah, like I feel like I'm just trying to be more mindful as well now, like using microfiber cloths and things like that, and just reusing stuff in the house as well, like old muslin cloths and stuff like that I use in
Yeah.
at home now. And um yeah, just trying to be mindful of the things that we've already got instead of always buying things. I feel like that's another thing that's come with this sort of lifestyle and living low tox. I'm just trying to consume less and buy less all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'd say that's the same for me as well. And I think it's funny, like, um, I think a lot of this for me started like when we were in like lockdowns and stuff, because when you couldn't get anything anywhere
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
And so it was like, okay, well, I will, my daughter was only one then, so we were doing cloth nappies. I wasn't doing cloth nappies consistently at night then, just ad hoc, because
Yeah.
the night nappies can be really difficult to dry. But
Yeah.
as soon a and I was like, well, I thought I was only gonna have one child. That was the original plan. So I was like, I don't want to invest in more overnight nappies because, for what won't be that long. Turns out
Yeah.
I had another child. But also when we went into lockdown, I was like, forget what I previously said. I'm gonna go and buy some more nighttime nappies. And then just, we just didn't even have to worry about nappies or anything like that. So it was nice to some
Yeah, and I
extent.
feel like that's the benefit, isn't it, of using reusable, like, wipes and stuff as well, and they're just so versatile as well, aren't they? Like,
Yeah,
and the kids, like, prefer to use them. It's quite funny actually because the kids always have, like, a cloth wipe there when they have their dinner because my youngest is she doesn't like getting dirty face or anything. She likes to wipe her face repeatedly, wipe her hands. It's quite funny though because it's just like it looks like a normal wipe, it looks like a little miniature cloth sort of thing, doesn't it? You'll
yeah.
see them after their dinner, they're just like mopping up the table and wiping down the table with it. I'm like, yeah, you're really getting your use out of that, aren't you?
Yeah. But yeah, it's just I feel like like saying like it was lockdown and stuff that encouraged it. I think just sort of brought it out that actually I want to find a different way to survive where I don't have to rely on
Yeah.
being able to, but there was nothing I could really do if there was, no nappies. I mean, I remember seeing people like we were doing cloth anyway, but I remember people saying like people were panic buying nappies and wipes
Oh, I
and they
know.
couldn't get their hands on these things. And I'm like, I don't want to be in a situation where I have to, be
Rely.
panicking about this. Yeah. That came with like food and stuff as well. It's like, okay, well, I will bake my own bread then because and it's not that easy for everybody every day to bake bread, but you know, in lockdown I didn't have anything else to do.
Yeah, no, of course not, and that is so true. Like I feel like around that time as well, we was doing the same. So we was like making a lot more things at home and trying to be less reliant on the shops. And that was a real eye opener. And it's just kind of continued, hasn't it? Because I feel like we've just reaped the benefits from it anyway. And the children enjoy doing stuff. They enjoy helping me in the kitchen
Yeah.
and like cooking and they really enjoy the result of making things themselves. And even actually with reusable wipes and reusable nappies, the kids even help with things like that when they've been washed. They sit there and they pile up all the wipes, and they get enjoyment from that. But yeah, definitely the lockdown was a massive eye opener, and even with cleaning products as well. I think it just put me off having to go to the shops as often. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I just didn't want to have to go to the shops as often because of the chaos that it was. So that's when I sort of started experimenting with cleaning products and stuff at home. And also, like, I don't make my own laundry detergent and stuff. I use the Eco Zero one, but we buy like the 5 litre ones and stuff now,
Mm.
and just try and be more mindful in that sense. Like we try to stock up a bit more on the stuff that we use, and consume less like single use products and just try buy it in a bulk amount where possible. But yeah, like I actually made some cream cleaner the other week, and it was just using about half a cup of bicarb, 2 tablespoons of vegetable glycerin, and then like teaspoons of washing up liquid, and I used it in my bathroom, and I was really, really shocked because honestly, when I first started doing this, like when you haven't cleaned the bathroom for a while and it's a bit like hard to get off, I
Yeah,
found myself using like the cast iron soap on the scrubbing pad trying to get it off, and it's pretty hard work trying to get it off.
yeah.
But yeah, I made this cream cleaner the other week and it was really, really effective and much easier work. So yeah, it was definitely worth it. And yeah, there's a few things that I use in my home, as do you. And I definitely encourage people to give it a go because it can seem intimidating, but it's really not, and they're just as effective. So yeah, definitely go and have a look and just give it a go. Like you've got nothing to lose. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? Like it's going to not work as good, or yeah, it'll be really good to do. Trust me.
Yeah, and like you said earlier as well, like I was surprised when I started making my own like kitchen cleaner and stuff, and I was like, like the automatic assumption is like, oh well, this won't be as good as Flash with bleach, but
Yeah,
it was incredible. Like so, I use like vinegar, water, and some I fragrance it with a lemon essential oil usually or orange, and
yeah,
I was like, sprayed it on and like wiping like the top of my hob and like the tiles behind my hob that get like splatters on them when I'm cooking. And I was like, this is really good. Like,
yeah, yeah.
I feel
It's
like
actually clean.
yeah, and I'm like, hold on a second. This is like natural stuff and it's doing the same job. That
Yeah,
nothing's different. And so yeah, I haven't made my own like laundry powder or anything yet. I keep threatening to make dishwasher tablets, but I don't want to mess up the dishwasher if I do it wrong. So, and
yeah.
I've got some recipes, so I will try it. But yeah, I've got there's a couple of books that I really like. I cannot remember any of them off the top of my head, so I will link them
One
in.
that comes to my mind, I think it's Nancy Bert's Whistle, and it's called Clean and Green. And I think she's actually got another one now. She was on Bake Off, but she's got an Instagram page as well, and that's really, really good. Like loads of homemade cleaners and like natural solutions in there, like for everything, like bathroom, kitchen, carpets, laundry. So yeah, like I definitely recommend having a look at that because that's where I've got some of my information from and what I've used to kind of like formulate my own recipes as well.
Yeah, and it's just a work in progress, isn't it? Like I do so much that is like toxin free on one side, but then I haven't yet got to the dishwasher tablets and I haven't yet got to, my clothes, what I use,
Yeah,
better stuff. But yeah, it's just a work in progress and a slow journey along as we
I
find
completely
out
agree.
more.
Completely agree. Completely agree. And like we've said a few times through the podcast already, it's just a gradual process. And the best thing to do is just literally make one change at a time. Don't overwhelm yourself. And honestly, once you kind of go down the rabbit hole, shall we say, like there's no going back. You'll just keep doing it and making more and more changes. And before you know it, you look back and you're like, wow, it's been like a year and you've changed so, so much. And you won't need to, like look up about things. You'll just do it. You'll just decide what you're going to change next and you'll just do it.
Yeah, and yeah, it just comes so natural, like sometimes, my husband will say, "Oh, I've just finished the last of the cleaning spray," and I'm like, "Okay, I'll just make another one." And
Yeah,
yeah, but like prior to having it, you'd be like, "Oh God, how do I make a cleaning spray?" But now it's just like, "Oh, I know what to do. I don't even need to like look
think
at where
about it.
I'm putting it down. It's just like I know what I'm doing, and I'll just make it,
And
and off we go." So
that's
yeah,
what's good though. That is what's good, that you don't have to follow a recipe. It's not like we're mixing chemicals. They're just natural ingredients. So like it doesn't always have to be perfect. You literally like the times like I've been in the bathroom, the spray's nearly empty. I'm like, let me just grab the vinegar out of the cupboard and just
yeah.
squeeze that in there with a bit of water and just a few drops. Like it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to work.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have touched on it, but one of the things I think surprised me the most about like products was about skincare and bath products. There is so much in there that is so many chemicals, so many toxins, but also so much that is so like counterproductive. Like you will get like a cream for acne that the side effect of some of the chemicals is it will give you acne.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
and that
like, have you changed your skincare, bath products, things like that as well?
yeah, so we use soap bars now, and we use them, like, to wash our hair and everything as well. Like, you can get liquid castile soap as well if you want to use them, that's easier, but we do use soap bars at the moment. But I'm not gonna drop the brands of the names of some of the ones that I thought are like, oh yeah, they're really good, but then I've kind of found out that they're not so good. But you just have to really be careful, because when you start looking at the label and just reading the ingredients, you think that they are natural and they are really good. But like I said about fragrance and things like that, you just wouldn't even think of something that's a natural soap bar, like, I don't know, cherry flavour or almond. Almond, for instance, is one that I've come across before that's had fragrance in there, and I'm just like, why? Just why would that be in there? But it's not just things like that. It's chemicals like benzyl alcohol, things like that, and I can't think what it's called now. I don't know if it is benzyl alcohol or something else, but there is something else that they put in an ingredient that goes into soap or deodorant and things like that, stuff that goes straight onto your skin, and it basically is permeable to your skin, so it kind of opens the barrier. And obviously things like that, you have to think, like, if there's other chemicals in there, then that's just like opening the barrier for your skin, and all those chemicals are just like seeping in like crazy. Do you know what I mean? And you've got
Yeah.
to remember, like, our skin is the biggest organ on our body, and we just absorb everything through our skin. So, if anything, like, skincare and bath products is the one thing that I should focus on when I'm changing things.
Yeah. Yeah, I went through our bathroom with that app I said about, and I was like doing all the barcodes, and I was like, right, that's out, that's out, that's out. I think I've left us with uh, like a 0% shower gel thing, and
Yeah.
I use like soap bars for my hair as well. But yeah, it's just there's just so much stuff,
So
and
much to take in,
yeah,
so much to take in. Even things like, I never even thought about this before, but like, when you turn over the packet of a toothpaste and then you're reading something like it's saying, if it's swallowed, you need to call, like, I don't know, like danger chemical control or something, and you're just like,
yeah,
what?
yeah,
Why would that say that on toothpaste? Something that I put in my mouth that my children are going to use. And I'm not being funny, like, come on, toothpaste, it's got a nice flavour to it. Do you know what I mean? Kids, like young kids, I'm like, mate, they're just going to want to eat it. Do you know what I mean? And then you're reading on the back of the packet this stuff like that it's a danger,
yeah,
hazard to your health, and to call your centre for control or infectious control or whatever it is. Like, if it's swallowed, I'm like, my goodness, like, what on earth? Like, and you wouldn't ever think these things, because it's just like, we've been brushing our teeth with this for years, and you wouldn't even ever imagine that. Like, the kids now, my kids have one now that's it's not even a toothpaste. It's like an oil-based one. You just put one drop on the toothbrush, and it's made from like essential oils and everything like that. Um, and it's quite a strong smelling oil, but they use it and they get on great with it. But that's another thing that really shocked me, because I was like, why would they make it such a nice flavour and then say that their kids can brush their teeth it, and then, like, say that if they swallow it, it's dangerous to their health? Like, that's just not a good idea for children, is it?
yeah. Yeah, because they've got no idea. They've got no idea at
Like,
all, that don't swallow it. The first thing they're gonna do is like, "Mm, well, that was tasty."
"Oh, that tastes lovely. Yeah, I'm gonna have that." Like, "Oh, yeah, oh, strawberry flavour and mint flavour.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna have that." How do you even tell a two-year-old, that you can't swallow it? They're just about learning to just spit it out at that point, and even then, it's a
yeah,
pretty pathetic attempt, to be honest.
yeah,
Just coming back to what we were saying about, bath and skincare products, another thing that shocked me was, razors, that little moisturizing strip on the razors. Yeah, so I found that, like, there's chemicals in there that are carcinogenic, and I was like, why would they do that to us? Like, literally, when you shave, like, you shave, you can accidentally cut yourself. Like, that's
yeah,
literally going straight into your body. Like, it's just like, why are they just trying to poison us all the time? Like, and I feel that bath and skincare products is just like awful, like really, really bad. Like that I feel like that is like one of the places where it's the worst. And for stuff for children as well, they market these products, these bath products for children. You know, like, I'm not gonna drop the names and stuff again, but they've been proven that they've been, like, carcinogenic,
Mm.
or, you know, there's products out there that are advertised to help with eczema and stuff, but you look at the back of the packet and you're like, "That's not gonna help eczema." Like, if anything, that ingredient's gonna aggravate eczema. Like, why
Yes.
would you even put that in there? Like, why would you do that? If anything, someone that's got eczema doesn't need something that's got, like, 15 ingredients in it. Do you know? Like, that's
Yeah.
just crazy that they think that that's gonna help, like.
It's the same someti it just made me think of, like, have you ever had, like, something from the doctor, right? And so say you've gone for, like, a migraine, right? You've gone to the doctor for a migraine, they give you some medication, and then you open it, and one of the side effects is you might get a migraine, and you're like,
Yeah,
um, "What's the point? I'm just going full circle here." And it's the
yeah, like,
same with, like, bath products, and like you say, like, if a kid's got eczema and then some of these products are marketed, "Oh, this will help eczema," but then you actually look at the ingredients and then what the ingredients could do, and actually it ends up it could actually give you eczema. And so
yeah.
you end up in this, like, chemical loop.
Yeah, and it's like, imagine if we just started, like, researching or looking up all these different chemicals on the back of the labels, like, even just doing one, I bet it would bring up, like, a few different side effects. So you just imagine one product that's got, like, 5 different chemicals in, and imagine, like, 5 of them have got, like, 2 reasons for each. That's, like, 10 side effects, like, for one problem. You're trying to treat one problem, but then there's potentially 10 side effects to it. It's like,
Yeah.
is it even worth it? I mean, to be fair, before I started doing low tox as well, like, my daughter had, like, really dry skin when she was a baby, and, we was just using coconut oil from then, and, that kinda stuck with me. So, like, sometimes if their skin just looks a bit dry, we just use, like, a bit of coconut oil or something, and it's like we're kind of conditioned to think that we need to depend on these products that these big companies make, like cleaning products and creams, lotions, and stuff like that. And we don't really know, or we're not really told or taught about these natural ways and these natural forms of things that we can use to help us. Like, like personally for us in our home as well, we don't really use much like over the counter medication and stuff like that. We use a lot of natural remedies, some homeopathic remedies, some tinctures, and some things we just like use food to help us. But I just feel like with all of these different aspects, we're just conditioned and taught to kind of feel that we need to rely on these things when we really don't.
Yeah. I actually made for, my son, he had sort of like little eczema patches, but then also, if he ever got like sore at all from his nappy, I made like a cream and I used my breast milk. It has to stay, so it has to stay in the fridge. Got it in like a little jar.
No way.
And it is amazing, I presume because of the breast milk, but yeah, it's just that I had old breast milk going around the freezer that I was so protective of my stash. Nobody could drink it though because it was, like, well out of date, but I was like, "I wanna do something with it," so I would put it in the kids' baths,
And all that
make
hard
the kids
work.
drink. I know, I was like, "What am I
All
gonna
that
do
hard
with this?"
work, but breast milk is so, so good. Like, I remember my friend saying that, her son had such a bad nappy rash and they just couldn't shift it. They tried so many different creams, and so many different ways to try and resolve it, and they just couldn't resolve it. And I was like, "Oh, why don't you just try breast milk, like, and see if that works?" And she was like looking at me as if to say, "Breast milk?" Like, I was like, "Yeah, just try it. Like, well, you've got literally nothing to lose." Like, honestly, I was like, "It can really work wonders." 3 days later, she texted me. She was like, "I did what you said." She was like, literally the next day it started clearing up, and I was just like,
Yeah.
"Wow, that is amazing." Like,
Yeah, it
all these
is.
over the counter creams did nothing, absolutely
Yeah.
nothing, like, didn't shift it at all. Bit of breast milk and started clearing it up straight away. It was gone. It's, like, completely gone in 3 days, yeah.
Yeah, it is magical. And, if you're able to get, if you're able to breastfeed and you've got breast milk on hand, I've honestly tried it on everything. I got really bitten a couple of summers ago when he was just born, and I react really badly to bites, and generally they get infected, and generally I need antibiotics. So I'll do everything in my power to avoid that. And I remember waking up after breastfeeding, he was tiny, and I got out of bed. I just fed him in the middle of the night, and I was like, I am so itchy, and I like literally went downstairs, got some of my pumped milk out the fridge, and was just like like slathering it on me, like,
Layering it on.
please let this stop. Food and breastfeeding leads nicely onto talking about food and how we nourish our bodies. So I know that's something that you're really interested in. I know we eat completely different diet wise,
Yeah.
but what are your top food tips for when it comes to living a low toxic lifestyle?
So I'd just say, just try and be mindful. So when you're going shopping and you're picking stuff up, always be more alarmed at like the kind of the more ingredients that are on the label, the more kind of concerned that there is there normally. And just be mindful of things like so all the wording that they use on the labels is like really misleading. So they always say things like natural, low fat, low sugar, plant-based. We do eat completely differently. I'm plant-based, you're not. But before I did turn plant-based, like I was like you as well. Like I was trying to source more like organic, trying to source like more grass-fed. And I feel that, that's one thing that we do share. We are very mindful of what we're putting into our bodies, what we're
Yeah,
feeding our families. And yeah, there's just so many additives in food right now. So I'd just say, obviously, it is very overwhelming. All the things we've spoke about a lot here today on this podcast, and there is a lot of ingredients that I personally avoid for my family. So flavorings we avoid here, artificial sweeteners. Just try and pick like one of those things. Just try and pick one of those things that you want to avoid, and just see where you can make the changes, even if that means out of, I don't know, 30 things on your weekly shop, even if you can just change like one or two of those things, that's a massive change. And that is going to just like help you so much down the road. Um, but yeah, like the flavorings as well, like, I know I have spoke about it before, but I feel like it's just really important because I feel like it's just becoming more and more common out there, um, that natural flavorings are just on the ingredients. So just have a look at your labels when you're out shopping, and trust me, you'll be shocked to see it. Like, you're literally gonna be going around and you're gonna be like, "Oh my God, it's everywhere." Especially if you are plant-based, I'm telling you now, all these vegan cheeses, all these plant-based butters and all that, they've all got it in. They've all got these natural flavorings in, and they're all made with like rapeseed oil and seed oils that are just really, you're not benefiting from eating these. I'm not an advocate for anyone who wants to follow meat and dairy, like that's fine. I follow a plant-based diet, but I'm just saying that just because they're marketed as plant-based, they're not always a healthy option. And I feel like people are often falling down that trap. Like they're trying to be better. Veganuary comes around, they're like, yeah, I'm going to give it a go. We're going to try more plant-based food. You see it in the supermarkets. And it makes me really sad because people are really trying to be more mindful of what they're eating and trying to eat better, even if that means that they're not just because they want to cut their meat consumption. It just means that maybe they want to eat more fruit and veg and
yeah.
get that into their diet because they're lacking. It's just such a shame to see that they just use these plant-based as a way to get people to be like, oh, this is the healthier option. And it's not always the case. So, yeah, I just encourage people to not always go with what says on the front of the label, turn it over and have a look for yourself and see what's in there.
Yeah, I used to, funny enough, before I had children, I used to be lactose intolerant. I am, since I've had children, not, which is
Oh,
good
wow.
because I missed cheese, definitely. But it was, yeah, so it's just one of those crazy things that sort of happened since pregnancy. But it was so frustrating to me to have, food that, like you say, like I used to have, like non-dairy spread and non-dairy milk. And, like, even I used to love drinking oat milk and,
Mm.
I know we can make oat milk, but like we were saying earlier, like, sometimes you just want something that you can just grab. And so
Yeah,
so many of the oat milks are, like, filled with rapeseed oil, and it's, like, the second ingredient, so there's a lot of it. And
yeah. And it's just
yeah,
like, why? Why? Why
yeah.
why do we need that in there? Like, why does it need to be in there? It's just unnecessary and so frustrating, especially like I didn't even know that about you actually, that you was lactose intolerant before and you've had to have dairy-free options. So you must understand my frustration then
Yeah,
because I feel like, you're making the swap, but you can't even make it a good swap. Like the option is just doesn't even exist. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
And that is just so frustrating because we make so much at home. We make like our own cleaning products. We cook a lot of our food from scratch. We make even things like stock. Can't just go and buy a stock cube because of the ingredients that are in it and stuff
yeah,
like that.
same.
Yeah, it's exhausting. It is like
Yeah,
we do it for our families because we want to nourish our bodies well. And, like I care what we're putting into us. But sometimes I'm like, I can't be asked to do that today. I don't want to do that today. I want to just be able to go to the shop and I just want to be able to pick it up and not have to make it. And, you
yeah,
know, you can't always do that, unfortunately. And it's a real shame. And I feel like at the same time, there's a lot more products out there that seem to be coming out that are trying to make a bit more of an effort. And that's really good to see, really, really good to see. But at the same time, I'm finding that more good products are putting more rubbish ingredients into their food. So it's just like you're not even really getting anywhere with it.
yeah. It's so frustrating because all of these things, they're like in everything, like seed oils are in everything. Seed oils is something that we really actively try and avoid in our house. We're not perfect, but it's just everywhere, rapeseed oil in particular. And it's like when I had my daughter, I wasn't able to breastfeed her. I had a lot of issues with breastfeeding. And so the only option was formula, which has seed
Mm.
oils in it. And it's like I felt bad enough that I couldn't breastfeed, and now I have to feed
Yeah,
my child with something that I wasn't 100% happy with the ingredients of. And like, infant feeding is important. You shouldn't, mess around with
yeah.
well, with the way formula is made or anything like that. So it's like it's incredibly frustrating to
And I
not
didn't
have
even know
options.
that. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know. I wouldn't ever, out of all the things that have shocked me and all the things that I know about, like what's in what food, like I would never ever have thought that they would put seed oils in formula milk. Like that really has shocked me. Like
It doesn't make sense as to why either, because there's
it
not.
doesn't add a nutritional value, does it?
No,
Do you
and
know?
it must be a consistency thing. That's all I can think of, because it's like there's not rapeseed oil, when you milk a cow, there's not rapeseed oil coming out. And so, it doesn't make sense, like, why you would put in so many things. I just think, like, was that really necessary? Like, if I've gone crazy and I've gone to the chip shop, right, then I know that I'm probably not eating something very good. And
Yeah,
the chips are deep fried in probably something I wish I didn't know about. But yeah, in something that also is not even, formula, it's not like, oh, I'll have something else. This is
yeah.
it.
That's
Eh,
it. Yeah.
if that's whether you can't breastfeed or didn't want to breastfeed, and whether you wanted to formula feed, it's just there's no other choice. So I don't know why they must do it.
Yeah,
But
and I find that really difficult. I find that difficult for my children that there's not always an option for them to have. Um, and that's really frustrating. And I've found loads of products that we can use in our home, and that's great. But it's annoying that we have to shop sporadically sometimes. I have to buy my oil-free raisins from Morrison's. I have to buy the crisps that my daughter can have. Well, not just my daughter, that we can all have. Have to get those from Waitrose. Have to get something else from somewhere else. And like it's just like. it's just seemingly difficult all the time. But I've kind of got into a rhythm with it now. So like I just make sure that when I go and get these things, I get a few at a time.
Yeah.
So I'm not literally circling the shops every week, like Aldi one day, Morrison's the next day or something.
Yeah.
There's all this stuff that is in our food, and they don't even say, like they put it in other words, like, like I think, like, is it stock cubes or something? They say that there's no added MSG or something like that.
Yes, yeah.
No added MSG, no
Yeah.
added, but there is MSG in there. They
Yeah,
just
but
haven't
this
added it.
yeah.
It's Do you know, like, it's like, I'm like, where do you think that flavor comes from? That really addictive flavor, like, it's like if you get Chinese takeaway, like MSG, like, and it's so addictive. It's so, so addictive. Yeah. Just don't overthink it. The way I see it, I'm like, yeah, we might eat more herbicides and pesticides because we eat more fruit and veg, but we've made a change to eat less processed foods. We're eating more fruit and veg. Like that
Yes.
that's what it comes down to. You have to come back down to that what you're doing is better than what you was doing before. You are still benefiting yourself. So don't get caught up in everyone or other people trying to put down what you're doing and try and make out like it's bad for you or it's worse, when really, for you and your family, you've made a better choice, and you're doing better than what you was doing before, and that's all that matters. All that matters is that you feel that you're doing better and you're making changes to benefit you and your family.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be my advice as well. Like you say, just try not to get overwhelmed, because there can be, I find sometimes, like within other people that live a low toxic lifestyle, it can be like coming at you all the time. And really the best thing to do is, just take what you need and just leave
Yeah.
the rest. Just
Yeah,
leave
there's
the
no
rest.
need to go around the house, like, literally putting everything in a black bag and
Yeah,
having nothing left. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
There's no one saying that you have to do that, but you are right, Amy. Like, I do get it, because you do see these accounts and these low tox people, and it's just like it is so like overwhelming and full on. You're like, oh my God, they're literally telling me that everything in my cupboards, all my food, my fridge, my products, my bed sheets, like literally, they're literally saying like everything in my house is gonna like make me sick. It's like gonna go moldy, or all these chemicals, like literally, like just stop right there. Just take in one thing. Just stop right there and take in one thing. And that is what I've learned over the past few years of living this lifestyle. Like, just take it one step at a time, and just don't get too consumed into what these people are saying all the time. Not that it's not useful. It's so useful to learn this information. It really is. But yeah, don't get overwhelmed with it and overthink it, and start getting anxiety over the fact that I still use bleach toilet roll, like, like there's nothing I can do about it. Like, from a cost perspective as well, we can't do everything that we want to do, and we can't change everything. So
Well, it's been wonderful to have you on and share with us all about your, how low toxic living works for you. So, where can listeners connect with you online?
so my Instagram handle is a little less toxic with an underscore at the bottom, and that is the best place to get me. Instagram is like my favorite place to be. I don't really do much on any other social media. I feel like Instagram is my sort of place, and that's where I
Yeah,
enjoy being. So that is the best place to find me.
excellent. And I will put the link in the notes as well, so everyone can come and find you as well. So, thank you so much for coming on. It's been great to have a good old chat about low toxic living.
And I've absolutely really enjoyed it. So thank you for inviting me here. And I'm so glad we've finally done it, because we originally booked this for January. So I hope your listeners enjoy it. It was worth it for me. And
Yeah, and
yeah,
me
maybe
too.
I'll catch you at another one another time.
Absolutely. So it was so fun to sit and chat with Kay and just understand her experiences and understand her perspectives on low toxic living. And it's really interesting, I think, and like I said at the beginning of this episode, to just know that you don't have to be any type of one single person that lives this low toxic lifestyle. It is available to everyone. And as Kay said, you don't have to need to do everything all in one go. You can absolutely just start where you're at and just change one thing, and it can make a huge difference. So I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. You can find Kay on Instagram at a little less toxic with an underscore at the end. You can find me on Instagram as always at lifeonplot44. I will leave all of Kay's links and my own links for Instagram, my blog, etc. down in the notes, and you can come and check me out there. Thank you again for taking so much time out of your life to listen to my little podcast. I appreciate it so much. And until next time, I will catch you in the next episode.